TIMA6311 Activity 2. Pedagogical learning. Right, reflect. What was your worst experience in the mathematics class at school? Think about that situation. Your context for this activity is the child's emotional state can behave as a barrier to learning, which can result in them performing poorly, which incites more anxiety. This vicious cycle is often seen in math because math is perceived as being tough or scary. Some children describe mathematics as impossible. Throw an assessment into the mix and you have a recipe for a very challenging time. You start sweating, you've got tummy ache, you're trembling, it's hard to think clearly, your heart is beating fast, so you are anxious. Right, so the instructions for this activity is that you're going to have an essay. You're going to write an essay in 2 parts. So in the first part, you are going to reflect on any anxiety that you experienced towards math when you were a learner. And then in the second part, you are going to assume the role of an educational expert in which you advise a teacher whose learner is experiencing the same anxiety as you did on how to create authentic assessments which will help the learner to cope with the anxiety that they face and strategies that the teacher can use to minimize math anxiety. So the whole of your essay should be about 2.5 pages in length, with the reflection being about half a page in length. So the first part of your essay, the reflection, is half a page, and the expert advice that you're going to give the teacher is going to be about 2 pages in length. Do not forget to substantiate your claims as an educational expert, meaning get some credible resources, read through it, and give your advice, and then use the credible sources to support your reasons by in-text referencing or paraphrasing. Your submission should be typed in size 12 font, 1.5 line spacing, and Calibri or Arial with normal margins. So let's say in the first part of this essay where you have to reflect on an anxiety that you experience, that you have not experienced anxiety as a learner in the math class. Then you indicate this and you instead write a reflection on common symptoms of anxiety towards mathematics. But people, this should be only if you haven't experienced any math anxiety. So the first part of this essay should be about your own anxiety that you experience in the math class, describing to the reader, which will be me, how you felt. So let's unpack this first part of the reflection a bit. You're going to reflect on any anxiety that you experienced towards math when you were a learner. Write about your experience, but also go into more depth. Describe how it made you feel, how it affected you, in other words, the impact it had on you, and what you learned from it. The length of half a page. So don't just describe that you had math anxiety because of this poor teacher or bad teacher, and she made you feel anxious. How did it affect you? And what did you learn from it? So go into more depth with this experience. And like I said, if you truly have not experienced any anxiety in the math class as a learner, please indicate as such and instead write a reflection on common symptoms of anxiety towards math. Part 2, where you take on the role as an educational expert, where you give advice to a teacher with learners in her class who are experiencing math anxiety, you're going to give advice to that teacher on how to handle this situation. So the cycle of math anxiety starts with a lack of confidence, and that leads to math anxiety, and that leads to a learner avoiding math, and that leads to poor performance, and that just carries on to a lack of confidence again, math anxiety, and so it goes on in a cycle. And we as new teachers need to break that cycle. So now you're going to assume the role of this educational expert. You are going to give your advice in essay format. You're not going to create an assessment, you are going to give advice. So advise this teacher on how to teach, in other words, strategies that she or he can use, and how to organize and prepare the classroom environment and how to use authentic assessments. Describe the value of authentic assessment and give creative ideas and advice. Very important, substantiate your claims. Where did you get your advice from? So use references. Please do not plagiarize. Write it in your own words and in-text reference. So it's very important that you give the teacher advice on what to do to help the learners with math anxiety. So how is she going to structure her lesson, or what strategies are she going to use, and how to organize her classroom environment, and how to use authentic assessments. So it's not only what is authentic assessment, you need to give advice on how to use the authentic assessment. Describe the value and give creative ideas and advice on how to organize her classroom and use authentic assessments. The sources that you can use is your module guide, or on VC Learn the Learning Units, the Luneta textbook, Landsberg, it was the INET textbook that you used last year, I think, articles in your module guide or your VC Learn platform, and then your own research, credible, reliable resources. These people, not only blogs, you can get ideas from blogs, but please use credible resources to substantiate your advice. The guidelines on the format of the essay, I've already given this to you. It's just the, I got this from the activity itself in the PoE. So 2.5 pages in length. Your reflection is half a page, and the expert advice that you give is 2 pages. So let's just quickly look at the rubric, which I will be using when I mark your work. For the reflection, I just want to check. Yes, the reflection is the first part, and it weighs 15 marks out of the total of 50 marks. So that's why you can see here that it's only half a page. The mark allocation indicates that it's not more than half a page worth. So your reflection narrates your experience of anxiety towards math as a learner. It clearly communicates the impact of the anxiety on your experience of math. The narration is presented maturely, and it reflects a deep understanding of the complexities of the content. Every decision is purposeful and thoughtful. Please edit your work after you've written your experience, and please write a clear description of your anxiety. Also look at the other levels here of the criteria to just make sure that you do not lack in these fields. Then if we look at the advice that you give on creating authentic assessments, you would see that 15 marks goes to the advice. Exceptional effort is made in describing the value of authentic assessments. It's complete and highly creative. Your advice on how to create authentic assessments has the potential to effectively help the learner to cope with the anxiety that they face without compromising the integrity of teaching and learning. Advice is well substantiated by research from prescribed texts and additional resources. So please make use of additional resources as well. The teaching strategies and classroom environment, the advice on that. A sound discussion about the suitable strategy is evidently described. The student shows eagerness to instill a more positive approach to teaching math. A sense of passion and purpose is evident, with all reasoning well substantiated using additional resources. So please, if I can see that you have a sense of passion and purpose, and that you also gave creative advice here, you would receive good marks. Then 5 marks goes towards your academic writing. Writing is clear, concise, and well organized, with excellent sentence and paragraph construction. Thoughts are expressed in a coherent and logical manner. There are no more than 3 spelling, grammar, or syntax errors per page of writing. Please, people, edit your work before you submit it. Please use paragraphs, have an introduction, then start with your reflection, then start with the advice in different paragraphs, and then conclude your essay with a nice conclusion paragraph, in-text reference, and include a reference list at the end of activity 2 for both activities 1 and 2. Please make use of the IIE Quick Reference Style Guide for the correct referencing style so that you do not lose marks on that. We are very strict with the referencing, so please, you have to have in-text referencing in your essay as well as a good reference list sorted alphabetically. So please just consult the IIE Quick Reference Guide. Do you have any questions on this activity? You can include headings in your essay, no problem. So you can have a heading introduction, then you can have a heading reflection on my own math anxiety, and then you can start with advice on authentic assessments. You can have a heading value of authentic assessments. Then you can have a heading teaching strategies to use to avoid math anxiety, and what is the other? I just want to make sure. Let's just go back to the rubric. Classroom environment to reduce math anxiety. And then you can have a heading conclusion. If you do not want to use headings, that is perfect. So it's your choice. You may use headings or you may choose to not use headings. If you choose to not use headings, please, then you do not have heading, introduction, body, and conclusion. Then there's no headings. Always remember there's no such thing as a heading body in an essay. All right. Any other questions? So this is just in the form of an essay where you start with your reflection, your own reflection on your math anxiety, how it made you feel, what impact it had on you, and what did you learn from it. And then you go over to taking on a role of educational expert and you give advice on creating authentic assessments and the teaching strategies and classroom environment. And also don't forget to include the value of authentic assessments. And then you end off with a conclusion paragraph and you give a reference list at the end of both activities. I do have another activity that I'm going to upload for you on VC Learn, which will be, it will look like this. I just want to share it with you now. It's going to be a lax session for TIMA Group 2, but for you, I will also upload it for Group 1, where you can click on this link to read about authentic assessment, and also on this link to watch a video about authentic assessments, which is developed by our guru lecturer in IPTL this year. But it's a very nice video that you can just watch. I think it's about 5 minutes. So just click on that link and you can watch it. So you can use both of these resources to just get an idea of where to start with this essay and get ideas on authentic assessments. This is the link that you click on to read about what is authentic assessments. It's the authentic assessment toolbox, gives you definitions. How does an authentic assessment look like? How does it differ from traditional assessments? And just advice on how to teach using authentic assessments. So you can read through that, and then you also do your own research on authentic assessments.